The stars were silent that night above Earth. Humanity had stayed away from every interstellar war for centuries. They watched from a distance as alien empires clashed, destroyed planets, and rebuilt them again. The humans learned, evolved, and prepared, but never interfered. To most of the galaxy, Earth was a quiet blue world, a species that had chosen peace over power. But peace, as history always taught, never lasted forever. Captain Elias stood on the viewing deck of the Terran orbital station, watching the calm glow of Earth's surface below. The city lights shimmered through the atmosphere like fireflies. He had spent his whole life believing war was something the galaxy had left behind. The Galactic Concord, the largest alliance of alien civilizations, had maintained order for 1,000 years. But deep down he always felt it. Peace built on fear never survived. That night an alert tore through the quiet. A red streak blinked across the holographic map of the solar system. The AI voice trembled, something Elias had never heard before. Unidentified fleet entering Neptune's orbit. Transponder unknown. Movement pattern. Aggressive. For a moment, everyone froze. Earth hadn't faced a foreign military signal in centuries. The last encounter generations ago had ended peacefully. Elias's hands tightened on the rail. "Open channel," he ordered. Static filled the room, then a cold voice echoed in broken translation. "This territory is now claimed by the Vorak Dominion. You will submit all planetary resources immediately." No one spoke. The words carried arrogance, the kind that came from a species that had crushed countless worlds. The Vorak had been warned about Earth's neutrality before, yet they thought humanity would bend like all the others. They were wrong. The transmission ended. Silence filled the command deck. Then, without permission, one of the young officers muttered, "They don't know who they're talking to." A few nervous chuckles rippled through the room, but Elias didn't laugh. He remembered the stories, the wars Earth never fought but always prepared for. The defense grid, hidden in the shadows of the moon. The forgotten fleet that had never been decommissioned, just sealed away under layers of silence. "Notify the Council," Elias said finally, "and wake Admiral Keller." Across the system, encrypted signals spread like ripples in a lake. Deep inside Luna's crust, massive hangar doors began to stir after centuries of stillness. Buried under rock and dust, the old war machines, sleek, human-built, terrifyingly advanced, came back to life. The air hummed as the forgotten fleet reawakened. Far beyond the moon, the Vorak fleet moved closer, their ships huge and cruel, built for conquest. They scanned Earth's defenses and laughed. "Primitive," one of their commanders sneered. "They rely on satellites and static shields. Crush them." The first shot came without warning, a beam of energy that burned through the orbiting debris field. For seconds, the beam painted Earth's upper atmosphere in red. The warning sirens on the surface screamed across continents. People woke in the middle of the night, confused and terrified. At that moment, the Terran Council gathered in their underground chamber beneath Geneva. Holographic screens filled the room with data. The president's voice was steady, but her eyes betrayed fear. "They fired first. We can't ignore this. What are our options?" An older figure appeared beside her, a man who hadn't spoken publicly in decades. Admiral Keller, once known as the Shield of Earth, now old but not forgotten. "We warned them," he said quietly. "Humanity doesn't start wars, but we finish them." Outside, the moon's surface cracked open, releasing beams of blue light into the void. The first of the hidden warships rose from the dust like ghosts, sleek metallic bodies with long white hulls and glowing thrusters. The fleet that the galaxy believed dismantled had merely been asleep. Elias watched from the orbital station as the first dreadnought came online. The name shimmered across its hull, Solaris. It was older than him, built in an era when humans feared extinction. Yet its engines roared to life as if it had been waiting for this day. Communication channels exploded with chatter. Civilian broadcasts lit up every network. "Earth under attack? Is this the end?" But to the soldiers watching from orbit, it wasn't fear they felt. It was something else. A fire that had slept too long. The Vorak ships reached Mars orbit, preparing to strike. They didn't expect resistance. But then a deep vibration spread through space. One by one, the human warships appeared between Mars and Earth. There weren't many, barely 100, but each one carried technology the rest of the galaxy had never seen. The Vorak commander laughed, voice echoing across the comms. "So the peaceful ones wish to fight?" Elias didn't respond. He simply stared at the glowing symbol on his console. The old Earth insignia. Unity. Resolve, fury. Humanity's forgotten creed. He whispered under his breath. You made a mistake. Seconds later, the first human beam weapon fired. It wasn't like the crude plasma of other empires. It was silent. Pure energy compressed by artificial gravity. The beam cut through a Vorak cruiser cleanly in half. The enemy commander's laughter died instantly. The battle hadn't even begun, but the message was clear. Earth didn't want war. But when pushed, humanity remembered what it was capable of. As the stars flickered from the growing explosions, Elias watched the unfolding chaos. For the first time in centuries, Earth's name echoed across the galaxy again, not as a peaceful observer, but as a warning. And far beyond the solar system, countless alien worlds turned their sensors toward the small blue planet they had long ignored, wondering what kind of species could hide such fury behind such silence. The wreckage of the Vorak cruiser drifted silently across space, its molten edges glowing like dying embers against the black void. Every scanner in the system picked it up. Every signal in the galactic concord registered the impossible. A single human warship, one relic of a forgotten age, had destroyed a vessel 3 times its size with a single shot. Captain Elias stood on the bridge of the Solaris, his hands gripping the railing as the ship's sensors updated. Target neutralized, the AI reported calmly. Vorak fleet adjusting formation. They're confused, Elias could feel it too. The Vorak weren't retreating. They were regrouping, angry, humiliated. Across the comms, their signals buzzed with disbelief. How? What weapon was that? These humans were supposed to be primitive. Admiral Keller's voice came through the secure channel. They won't stop now. Pride will blind them. They'll come with everything they have. And when they do, the galaxy will finally remember what humanity was built for. As the old admiral spoke, the human fleet began to move. It wasn't large, just over 100 ships, but every vessel carried technology developed in silence, powered by reactors the rest of the galaxy had only theorized about. They were built not for conquest, but for survival, and survival had made them strong. Down on Earth, the world was no longer asleep. The broadcast from orbit had been shared everywhere. News channels streamed real-time images of the alien ships near Mars. Families gathered around holographic displays, faces pale and tense. Some cried, others stood in silence. Yet amidst the fear, a strange pride began to rise. Humanity had been tested, and it had not bowed. In a small apartment overlooking the Pacific, a girl watched the feed with wide eyes. Her father, an old engineer, smiled softly. You see, Mira? That's why we never gave up our defenses. That's why the stars feared our quiet. Back in space, the Vorak fleet advanced. Their flagship, a monstrous black structure shaped like a spearhead, led the charge. It carried weapons capable of wiping moons from orbit. The commander, furious and desperate to reclaim his pride, ordered a full assault. No mercy. Reduce that planet to ash. Hundreds of plasma beams lit up the void, streaking toward the human line. The Solaris and its sister ships responded instantly. Blue energy shields unfolded, rippling like water. Most of the shots scattered off harmlessly, but a few struck true, shaking the ships with thunderous force. Shields holding, the AI reported. Damage minimal. Return fire, Elias said quietly. The fleet moved as one. Dozens of beams cut through the darkness, not chaotic or rushed, but precise, surgical. Each blast hit a vital point, disabling engines and tearing through weapons arrays. Within seconds, 5 Vorak cruisers were gone, their wrecks burning like stars. The Vorak commander screamed into the comms, Impossible! Their technology, this isn't from a death world species. But Earth was a death world, the most dangerous in known space. Humanity had simply chosen not to remind the galaxy of that fact until now. Meanwhile, Admiral Keller stood inside the command center deep beneath the lunar surface. Holographic projections filled the air, showing the battle in real time. The younger officers looked at him for guidance, their faces half lit by the glow of distant explosions. Admiral, one said, should we call for reinforcements? Keller's eyes didn't move from the display. No, if we bring the entire fleet, the Concord will panic. Let them see what a single Terran strike group can do. Above, in the silence of the void, the Vorak flagship began to glow red-hot as its shields failed. The commander tried to order retreat, but his communications jammed. Human interference signals, sharp and efficient, cut through every frequency. The aliens had never seen such digital precision. It wasn't brute hacking. It was orchestral, elegant, almost alive. Then Elias gave the final order: fire main cannon. The Solaris powered up its core, a deep hum shaking the hull. Blue light gathered along its spine, focusing into a single point. The crew held their breath. The beam fired, the flagship vanished. No explosion, no debris, just light. The energy collapsed space itself around the target, leaving behind a silent hole of nothing. For a moment, even the stars seemed to stop shining. The battle was over. What remained of the Vorak fleet fled in panic, scattering into the void. But their defeat wasn't just a military loss, it was humiliation. Their transmissions flooded every corner of the galaxy. Word spread faster than light. The humans fought back. In the galactic Concord, leaders from 100 worlds watched the recordings. The council chamber, once full of confidence, now buzzed with fear. "This cannot be accurate," one alien delegate muttered. "The Terrans destroyed an entire Dominion fleet with a single squadron." Another whispered, "We should never have left them alone. We let them evolve unchecked." A third, older delegate leaned forward. "No, we should never have provoked them. The humans are unpredictable." While the galaxy debated, humanity didn't celebrate. Elias stood on the bridge, staring at the drifting remains of the enemy fleet. His crew cheered quietly, but he didn't smile. "We didn't win," he murmured. "We just reminded them what peace costs." Back on Earth, emergency lights dimmed and power grids stabilized. The Terran Council received live reports from orbit. The President's voice broke slightly as she spoke. "The world stands united again. We will not be the galaxy's victims." The image of the Solaris above Earth's horizon became a symbol overnight. Across every screen, across every city, people saw it and felt something they hadn't in centuries. Hope mixed with awe. Humanity was awake again. Yet deep in the farthest sectors of space, the remnants of the Vorak fleet regrouped. Their broken ships limped back to their empire, carrying messages of vengeance. Their emperor listened in silence. His eyes narrowed as he replayed the footage. "If one Terran ship can do this," he said coldly, "then what happens when their entire fleet returns?" He turned to his generals. "Find Earth's allies, or find its enemies. The humans have remembered who they are. Now we must remind them what fear feels like." But unknown to the Vorak, Earth was no longer alone. Old human colonies, lost centuries ago, had begun responding to the same encrypted signal that reawakened the fleet. And somewhere far beyond the rim, another human ship stirred from long sleep, its engines warming with ancient power. The galaxy had made a mistake, and humanity was only beginning to answer. The silence after battle was always the loudest. The wreckage of the Vorak fleet drifted like shattered glass across the black sea of stars, and the hum of the Solaris's reactors was the only sound on the bridge. Captain Elias stared at the tactical display, watching the last enemy signals fade one by one. The enemy had been crushed, but something in his chest felt heavy. Humanity hadn't been part of a war in over 4 centuries. Now one mistake from a reckless alien empire had pulled them back into the darkness they swore to avoid. "Status of the fleet?" Elias asked quietly. "Minimal damage, Captain," replied Lieutenant Aaron, glancing at the glowing console. "No casualties." "All systems green." Elias nodded, but his thoughts were elsewhere. He turned toward the panoramic window. Earth floated below, blue, calm, innocent. So fragile, yet capable of unimaginable power. "They'll come again," he whispered. "They always do," Aaron answered softly. In the command chamber beneath the lunar surface, Admiral Keller stood before the Terran Council. The holographic projection of the Vorak fleet's destruction rotated above the table, illuminating the faces of world leaders. Some looked proud, others terrified. President Wren stood with folded arms, her tone steady but sharp. "You told us, Admiral, that this fleet was for defense only, that we would never have to use it." Keller met her gaze. "And I told you, Madam President, that one day the galaxy would forget why it feared us. That day came sooner than I hoped." Around them, whispers filled the air. The council members argued, some called for peace talks, others for retaliation. But Keller spoke over them, voice gravelly and clear. "The Vorak won't stop here. They've lost ships, pride, and command. They will return not with a fleet, but with an armada." "Then what do you suggest?" the President asked. "Contact the colonies," Keller replied. "Every human settlement that's still out there. We'll need them." A silence followed. "The colonies," Worlds humanity had abandoned centuries ago, some lost in deep space, others surviving in secret. Many were believed gone forever. But hidden in humanity's encrypted history was a recall signal, a beacon that could unite them again. "Send the signal," the president said finally. On the Solaris, the crew felt a sudden pulse ripple through the comms network. It wasn't an alert, it was ancient code. Elias recognized it instantly. The home call. The sound carried across the entire solar system, invisible but powerful. Somewhere beyond known space it would be heard. Hours later, far from Earth, in a nebula-choked sector known as Orion's Veil, something stirred. A massive structure hidden within the dust clouds blinked to life. A forgotten outpost. Dozens of human ships covered in centuries of ice and debris began to awaken. The old systems detected the code, decrypted it, and responded. Humanity's long-lost colonies were stirring from silence. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, the Vorak Dominion trembled in humiliation. Their emperor, tall and reptilian, sat on his throne surrounded by glowing data feeds. He replayed the moment of defeat again and again, the single human beam that had erased his flagship commander. His voice was low, venomous. They were supposed to be extinct of power, peaceful, weak. One of his advisors bowed low. "Our intelligence was wrong, Your Excellency. Their technology. It surpasses ours. We believe it is ancient, built from forgotten knowledge." The Emperor's clawed hand curled around his staff. "Then we will learn it. Bring me every report, every scrap of data. Prepare the armada of retribution. If humanity wants to remember its fury, we will show them ours." Back near Earth, Elias stood alone in the observation deck. The stars looked different now. They no longer seemed peaceful, they felt alive, watching, waiting. He thought of the message they had sent, the call that might bring back humanity's scattered kin. The thought was both comforting and terrifying. Lieutenant Aaron joined him. "Do you think they'll answer?" she asked. "They will," Elias said. "We built our civilization on survival. Every human out there still carries that same instinct." A soft chime interrupted their moment. "Incoming transmission," the AI announced. Elias turned. "Source?" The AI hesitated. "Unknown origin. Human encryption detected, but not Terran." The bridge crew went silent. A transmission came through and the holographic display flickered. A figure appeared, a woman with silver hair wearing an old-style pilot uniform. Behind her, a flag fluttered with a symbol no one had seen in centuries, a crimson eagle on black. "This is Commander Lyra Vance of the Helios colony," she said. "We received your signal. You are not alone, Earth. We stand ready." Gasps filled the bridge. The Helios colony was a myth, one of the first human expansions that had disappeared into deep space ages ago. Elias smiled faintly. "Welcome home, Commander." Lyra's eyes hardened. "Don't thank us yet. We've been preparing for this. The Vorak have been hunting us for decades. Now they'll come for you. And when they do, they won't stop until Earth burns." The transmission ended, but her words hung in the air. Humanity had gained allies, but also warnings. A few days later, deep sensors picked up faint movements beyond Pluto's orbit. Thousands of contacts, too many to count. The Vorak Armada was coming, faster than expected, larger than anyone had imagined. Admiral Keller stood before the holographic display, his old eyes burning with determination. "So they've brought the storm to our doorstep again." He turned toward Elias, who stood ready in full uniform. "Captain, prepare the fleet. Recall every ship, every drone, every satellite." The galaxy wanted to test humanity's patience. Now they'll witness our endurance. As the alarm lights bathed the room in crimson glow, Earth's skies filled with motion. Massive hangars opened across the moon and orbital stations. The hidden dreadnoughts, the Aegis, Helios, Vanguard, and others, rose one after another into the light. Children on Earth watched in awe as glowing trails painted the night sky. Humanity was no longer the silent observer of galactic wars. It had become the storm everyone feared to awaken. And far beyond the edge of human space, the Vorak Armada advanced, blotting out the stars. The next battle would decide not just survival, but the fate of how the galaxy remembered humanity forever. The Vorak Armada moved through the void like a storm of shadows, each ship glimmering faintly under the light of distant suns. Tens of thousands of vessels advanced, their formation so massive that even the starlight dimmed behind them. In the center of it all floated the Emperor's will, a colossal flagship forged to symbolize dominance. The Emperor himself watched from its dark throne chamber, eyes fixed on the hologram of a blue world millions of kilometers away. Earth, he whispered, his voice heavy with contempt. A planet that pretended to be harmless. On the Solaris, Captain Elias stood motionless as reports poured in. The Vorak Armada had entered the outer solar boundary. The number was beyond belief. 30,000 ships, said Lieutenant Aaron, her voice trembling. That's an invasion fleet, sir. Elias stared at the holographic map, where red dots consumed the darkness. And they're not alone, he said quietly. I see Concord signals too. The Galactic Concord, once Earth's allies, were now observing. They wanted to see what the humans would do next. Some would cheer for their destruction, others would watch in awe. Humanity had become a spectacle. Deep beneath the lunar surface, Admiral Keller oversaw the awakening of Earth's full defense network. Massive automated factories thundered to life, launching drones, repair units, and stealth satellites into orbit. Activate Phase 3, he commanded. Bring every orbital defense cannon online. Admiral, said one of his officers, even with all our systems, their numbers mean nothing, Keller interrupted. Numbers don't win wars. Will does. Across the system, colonies responded to the home call. The lost worlds of Helios, Eden Prime, and Nova Astra had sent fleets of their own. Their ships were older, rougher, but their spirit burned bright. Commander Lyra Vance of the Helios fleet appeared on a hololink aboard the Solaris. We've arrived, Captain. 47 ships ready to fight. Elias gave a small nod. Then we fight together, Commander. In the cold black of Neptune's orbit, the two human fleets joined, their lights forming a silent constellation. There was no music, no speeches, just the quiet hum of reactors and the slow rise of tension that came before history's turning points. Then came the first message. The Vorak Emperor's voice filled every human channel. To the people of Earth, your defiance ends now. You will kneel or your planet will burn. Elias listened without emotion. Then he replied, his voice calm but hard as steel. We offered peace. You answered with arrogance. You'll leave this system or you won't leave at all. The line went dead. Seconds later, the stars ignited. The Vorak Armada opened fire, unleashing a storm of plasma and antimatter torpedoes. The first wave struck the outer defense grid. Mines exploded in brilliant bursts, ripping through the front ranks. Human point defense lasers sliced the void in crisscrossing lines of light. The Solaris shuddered as an impact rocked its hull. Shields at 70%. Aaron shouted, Hold formation! Elias ordered. Focus fire on their carriers. Humanity's fleet moved with precision, each ship acting like part of one organism. AI-assisted targeting allowed them to predict enemy maneuvers seconds in advance. Dozens of Vorak ships vanished in bursts of white light. Yet for every one destroyed, 5 more advanced. On the surface of Mars, newly constructed rail cannons rotated toward the stars. They were never meant to be used, but now they roared to life, each shot tearing through kilometers of armor. The planet shook with every firing sequence. Back on Earth, billions watched the skies glow faintly from orbit. Fear and pride mixed in every human heart. The president's voice broadcast across the planet. Stand firm. This is not the end of humanity. This is its rebirth. The Solaris's AI chimed. Admiral Keller requests link Priority 1. The Admiral's hologram appeared beside Elias. Captain, the Armada's primary fleet is too dense for direct combat. We'll lose too many ships if we continue like this. Elias frowned. Then what's your plan? Keller's eyes gleamed. We use the gate. For a moment, no one spoke. The gate was legend, a massive experimental device hidden near Jupiter. It was meant to bend gravity itself, capable of creating singularities to fold space. It had never been used in combat. Sir, Elias said carefully, that could collapse half the system. Keller smiled grimly. Then it's time the galaxy remembered why Earth was feared. Orders spread fast. Every ship pulled back in controlled retreat, leading the Vorak into the ambush zone. The Emperor watched from his throne, thinking the humans were running. They flee, he hissed. Cowards. But then the stars around his ships began to warp. Space itself shimmered, bending and twisting. Alarms blared across the Vorak fleet. Gravitational anomalies detected. At Jupiter's orbit, the ancient gate opened. It wasn't light that emerged, it was distortion, bending the starlight like water. From within that distortion, Something vast and radiant appeared. The Solaris's sensors went blind for a moment before recalibrating. When they did, Elias's eyes widened. It wasn't a ship. It was something older. A massive structure. A relic of humanity's ancient era of expansion. The Archangel, lost over 900 years ago, returned through the rift. The Vorak stopped firing. Even the Emperor's face twitched with disbelief. "What is that?" From the Archangel, a calm voice spoke across all frequencies. "This is Fleet Command Unit 1. Signal received." Humanity's call answered. The ship's engines lit up with impossible brightness. Its power signature dwarfed everything nearby. Within seconds, its weapons came online, ancient systems awakening after centuries of slumber. Elias whispered, "They actually came back." Then the Archangel fired. The explosion lit the system like a newborn sun. Entire Vorak squadrons were erased, reduced to atoms in a blinding wave of energy. Space itself seemed to ripple with the blast. The surviving ships fled, scattering in panic. Admiral Keller watched from his command room, tears welling in his eyes. "They thought we were weak," he said softly. "They forgot who we were." In the aftermath, as silence returned, the Archangel drifted slowly through the wreckage. Its captain's voice echoed one last message across every human channel. "You sought peace. You were denied. Now the galaxy will remember the cost." And somewhere beyond the stars, the surviving Vorak ships limped home, carrying the legend of Earth reborn. The galaxy burned with whispers. From the shattered remains of the Vorak Armada to the deep core worlds of the Concord, the story spread faster than light. Earth had risen again. Entire systems went silent when the name Archangel was mentioned. No one had believed the ancient supercarrier still existed, yet it had returned, answering the home call like a sleeping god awoken by thunder. On the Solaris, Captain Elias stood on the command deck, surrounded by the aftermath of war. The void outside was littered with glowing fragments of ships, some Vorak, some human. The Archangel floated in the distance, its massive silhouette dwarfing everything near it. Its hull shimmered faintly, patched with scars of 1,000 battles long forgotten. Lieutenant Aaron approached slowly, eyes wide with disbelief. "We ran every scan, Captain. The ship's systems are older than anything in our records. It's using a form of quantum gravity manipulation we can't even begin to decode." Elias nodded. "And it came from the gate," he said softly, "which means there might be more." The bridge fell silent at his words. More ships like Archangel, vessels from humanity's first golden age, could still be out there. Lost, waiting for the same signal. The comms crackled suddenly. A familiar voice cut through. "This is Commander Lyra Vance of the Helios Fleet. Our sensors picked up a distress ping from the far side of Jupiter. It's not Vorak, it's human." Elias exchanged a quick look with Aaron. "Set a course," he ordered, "and patch me through to Admiral Keller." Moments later, Keller's tired face appeared on the hollow screen. "I already know what you're thinking, Captain. You want to investigate?" "Yes, sir," Elias said. "If there's another ship like the Archangel out there—" "There might be," Keller interrupted, "but the Vorak aren't gone. Scouts report movement along the outer rim. They're regrouping, and they're not coming alone this time." Elias clenched his fists. "Then we find this signal fast. Whatever it is, it might be the key to stopping them." Permission granted, the Solaris and 3 escort ships broke formation and accelerated toward Jupiter. The debris fields thinned as they approached the gas giant's shadow. Lightning danced through its atmosphere like veins of gold. And there, hovering in the magnetic haze, was the source of the signal. It wasn't a ship, it was a station. Enormous, cylindrical, ancient beyond words. It looked abandoned, yet its lights were faintly flickering. Human markings still etched on its hull. "Project Horizon," Aaron whispered. "That's pre-colonial era tech, before the wars, before the Council." The docking sequence began automatically. As the Solaris latched onto the structure, dust billowed through the airlocks like ghosts of time. Inside, the corridors were silent, lined with dormant machines and forgotten banners of the Terran Republic. Every step echoed like footsteps in a tomb. At the central chamber, Elias and his team found a sphere of pale blue light hovering above an ancient console. The light pulsed slowly, almost alive. "Is that an AI core?" Aaron murmured. Before Elias could answer, the sphere spoke. "Identification required." Elias hesitated. "Captain Elias Grant, Terran Defense Fleet." The sphere glowed brighter. Identity confirmed. Command restoration in progress. Project Horizon protocols unlocked. The walls around them came to life, flickering with holograms showing ancient human fleets, weapons schematics, and planetary archives. A woman's face appeared within the sphere. Calm, graceful, synthetic. "I am Horizon," she said. "The failsafe of humanity's first expansion. You have reawakened me." Elias stepped closer. "What was your purpose?" "To preserve what was lost," the AI replied. "When the first Terran Empire fell, I was sealed to ensure humanity's knowledge survived. The Archangel was part of that network." Elias's heart raced. "How many others are there?" "7, Horizon said. "Scattered across the galaxy. Dormant. But I can re-establish contact. Warning. Doing so will expose your location to every sensor within 100 light-years." Aaron frowned. "That's suicide." Elias looked at the flickering holograms of the ancient ships, titans of a forgotten era, their names glowing faintly. Valkyrie, Dominion, Eternus, Leviathan, Nova Dawn, Zenith, and Archangel, each one a legend that could reshape the balance of the galaxy. He took a deep breath. "Do it," Horizon's voice softened. Then humanity rises once more. A deep vibration filled the station. Energy surged through the old circuits, awakening systems buried for millennia. Beams of blue light shot into space from the station's core, spreading in every direction like a spider's web of light. Across distant corners of the galaxy, 7 signals responded one by one. Humanity's lost warships were stirring from their sleep. But on the Vorak flagship Emperor's Will, alarm screamed. The Emperor turned sharply as his generals reported. Massive energy signatures detected across multiple sectors. All human origin. The Emperor slammed his clawed hand into the armrest. "They are calling their demons from the dark. Destroy the signal, now!" Fleet after fleet was ordered to converge on Earth's coordinates. The galaxy trembled under the coming storm. On the Solaris, Horizon's light dimmed slightly. "Signal transmission complete. All units acknowledged. But you are not ready. The enemy will strike soon." Elias turned to Aaron. "How long until the reinforcements arrive?" "Unknown," she said. "Some could be weeks away, some centuries." "Then we hold until they do," he replied. Outside, the first Vorak ships began to appear on long-range sensors again. Scouts, fast and cautious. The second wave was coming sooner than expected. As the Solaris detached from the ancient station, the AI's voice followed them. "Captain, remember this. Humanity was never peaceful by nature, it was patient. That patience has ended." Elias looked out toward the stars where war was already approaching once more. The humans had spent centuries hiding their strength, building peace in a galaxy that thought them extinct of fury. But now the truth of their legacy was spreading faster than fear. Far beyond the Milky Way's edge, ancient Terran signals pulsed through forgotten sectors. Old crews awakened from stasis, engines flaring after ages of silence. Across the stars, the phrase repeated in every human tongue. For Earth, for all humanity. And as the Vorak Armada descended once again upon the solar system, the Solaris turned to face them head-on, its captain's voice calm, resolute, and ready. This time, they'll see what peace forged in fire truly looks like. Dark clouds of wreckage drifted through the void where the first battle had taken place, glimmering faintly in the sunlight that reached across the solar rim. It had been only 3 days since the Archangel's arrival, yet humanity's name was already spreading like a pulse through every galactic network. The once silent species of the third planet was now the story of the century. Some called them monsters. Others whispered the word return. Captain Elias stood on the bridge of the Solaris, his reflection faint in the reinforced glass. The war was not over. It hadn't even truly begun. The Vorak's first invasion had failed, but their humiliation had only fed their rage. Every sensor report spoke of fleets gathering beyond Pluto's orbit. The second wave was coming, larger than before, angrier, desperate to reclaim their pride. "Captain," Lieutenant Aaron said quietly, "long-range probes confirm multiple hyperspace ruptures. Estimated count, 47,000 ships." The bridge went silent. Even the hum of the ship seemed to pause. Elias breathed out slowly. "And the colonies?" "Helios fleet en route. Nova Astra has gone dark. No signal from Eden Prime." He turned away from the window. "They'll come. They always do." Far below, inside the lunar fortress, Admiral Keller leaned over a holographic map of the system. His uniform was creased, his eyes shadowed by sleepless nights, but his mind was sharp as ever. Around him, officers argued in hushed tones about defense lines, evacuation plans, political pressure. But Keller raised a hand. "Enough," he said. "This isn't a war of numbers. It's a test of belief." "Belief, sir?" one younger officer asked. Keller looked up. "Yes, they believe humanity won't fight to the last. They're wrong." He turned toward the main holoscreen where the fleet formations of Earth, Luna, and Mars flickered in golden light. "We hold the line here. If we fall, the galaxy falls next. Remember that." The orders spread like lightning through every ship and outpost. Engineers worked without rest. Pilots slept in their cockpits. The mood across humanity was grim yet strangely calm. The world below, once fractured by borders and politics, was united again under a single truth. Earth would not kneel. In the outer system, the first shadows of the Vorak fleet emerged. The void rippled as their engines tore through the fabric of space. From the Emperor's flagship, his voice thundered across all channels. This time, no mercy. "Burn their homeworld. Leave nothing." On the Solaris, alarms flared. "They've entered range." Elias steadied his voice. "Deploy all squadrons. Hold the line around the Archangel." "We buy every second we can." Outside, the blackness of space turned into light. Thousands of energy bolts crossed the void, bright enough to outshine Jupiter's glow. Human ships danced through the chaos, weaving between debris and explosions. The Solaris shook violently as a blast scraped its flank. Sparks flew from the ceiling. "Shields down to 40%. Aaron shouted. "Keep firing." Elias barked back. "Target their flagships." From behind, the Archangel began to move. Slowly, majestically, it turned toward the densest cluster of enemy ships. Its engines flared gold, and its entire hull pulsed like a heartbeat. "This is Fleet Command Unit 1. The voice of the Archangel's AI echoed through every comm channel. "Engaging strategic defense pattern. Leviathan protocol." Elias blinked. "Leviathan?" Aaron's eyes widened. That's an orbital compression weapon, Captain. It folds gravity inward." The Archangel's core glowed brighter and brighter until it was painful to look at. The Vorak fleet fired everything they had. Plasma, missiles, torpedoes. But the beams bent mid-flight, curving away from the ship as if space itself was shielding it. Then came the flash. A silent wave expanded outward, invisible but unstoppable. Every Vorak ship within 1,000 kilometers imploded at once, crushed into nothingness. Space twisted back to calm, leaving behind a sphere of drifting debris. Cheers erupted across every human ship. The Solaris crew stood in awe as sensors recalibrated. Elias exhaled slowly. "Remind me to never get on that ship's bad side." But the victory was short-lived. "Captain," Aaron called. The Emperor's fleet, its energy readings just spiked. "They're charging something massive." On the flagship Emperor's Will, the Vorak Emperor stood before a gigantic obsidian cannon. "Fire the Eclipse Array," he ordered. Let them feel despair. The weapon unleashed a crimson beam so wide it consumed an entire fleet's silhouette. It wasn't just light, it was molecular decay unraveling matter itself. "Evasive," Elias shouted. The Solaris veered sharply, but part of the fleet wasn't so lucky. 3 human destroyers vanished instantly, leaving nothing behind but echoes on the sensors. Rage burned behind Elias's calm eyes. "All ships converge on the Emperor's position. We end this." The human fleet accelerated, engines flaring blue. The Solaris led the charge, flanked by the Helios squadron. The Archangel's massive cannons fired again, carving corridors through the enemy line. The two forces clashed at point-blank range, metal scraping metal, explosions ripping across the void like thunder. Elias's voice was steady, unbroken. "Target his flagship's core. Disable that cannon before it charges again." Inside the Vorak ship, the Emperor watched the chaos unfold. "Pathetic," he sneered. "Even united, they are fragile." But his smirk faded when alarms screamed through the chamber. "Gravitic instability detected." The Solaris had breached the flagship's shields. Elias gave the final command. "All batteries fire." The combined firepower of Earth's fleet converged into one devastating strike. The Emperor's will split apart in a silent explosion that lit up half the sky. For a moment, everything went still. The remaining Vorak ships began to scatter, their formations breaking. The fleet that came to conquer was now in full retreat. On the Solaris, the crew watched in stunned silence. Aaron whispered, "Did we just win again?" Elias didn't smile. "No. We survived again." He looked out toward the stars, where the faint echoes of battle still shimmered. Somewhere out there more enemies were watching, and more would come. Admiral Keller's voice came through the comm, calm but resolute. We've bought ourselves time. The Archangel has confirmed more signals from deep space. The rest of the ancient fleet is waking. Elias closed his eyes briefly. Then this is just the beginning. As the light from the destroyed flagship faded, Earth shone quietly in the distance, scarred, defiant, and alive. Humanity had once chosen peace, but the galaxy had forced them to remember war, and this time, the universe would learn that human fury was not born of hatred. It was born of survival.